Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Maureen and I'm so excited to shoot this video because one, I want to thank every single one of you for helping me get to 5,000 subscribers on this channel. But also this is my Ask Me Anything video and you guys came up with some really great questions. So I hope you guys stay till the end because I have a special guest star who has some questions of his own. So over the last week, I actually posed a community post and I actually put something in my Instagram stories saying, hey, I've reached 5,000 subscribers. In honor of that, I am hosting an Ask Me Anything. And so that is where these questions are coming from. So if you actually put a question in my stories or in the community post, I am going to answer that tonight. Also, I found some random ones throughout a few posts that I had. So I made sure to kind of like screenshot those and just have them for my list. So there's going to be a couple extra questions. So basically, if you have asked me a question within the last week, I'm saving it for this video. All right, so here's my list. Okay, so question number one, do you have to make adjustments to new patterns? For example, FBA, how do you approach this? So yes, there are two major modifications that I usually make in certain patterns. So for pants, I am always, pants and skirts, honestly, pants, skirts, dresses, let's just call it that. Anything that's like going down my legs pretty much, I have to adjust for my height. I'm 5'1", and so with pants, I'm usually taking off anywhere between 2 and 3 inches of fabric. With skirts is usually closer to like 4 to 6 inches of fabric. But then for my blouses or for tops, usually if it's a V-neck, I will have to do a full bust adjustment. And I actually have like I have 2 videos on this channel for full bust adjustments. One for a dolman sleeve and one for a simplicity pattern dress that I did. And so I actually started really getting into full bust adjustments last year after, like, I wouldn't call it I ruined a dress, but there was a dress that I made and I really liked it, but I'm never gonna wear it because I didn't do a full bust adjustment and I'm just hanging out in the middle with my cleavage and stuff, you know, ready to poke an eyeball out. And I don't necessarily want to send that message every time I wear a V-neck shirt. I don't do full bust adjustments on knit patterns. I know there's a way to do so, but for me personally, I haven't found that to actually be something that I have to do. Okay, next question. How did I learn to fit? So this is a question I actually get a lot, and I've been getting it a lot more because I work at Davids Bridal now, which makes total sense. But so I learned how to fit myself, right? And a lot of it was just instinct. It was like I would make a pattern and I would realize that I wanted it tighter in certain areas and looser in other areas. And I would turn like the dress inside out, like literally pin myself in the dress inside out, right? And then like slink it off. And then I pretty much just said, okay, this is going to be where I stitch, wherever those pins were. And I tried it one time on like a non-fussy dress that I really didn't care that much about. And I was like, oh, my hypothesis worked. So from then on, that was pretty much how I started altering my clothes. And really, it's just tracing the lines of the body. And one thing I've learned, and this isn't a question, but I'll just put it here. One thing I've learned about working with different bodies, one, the human body, no matter who you are, is not symmetrical at all. You may have one breast that's bigger than the other. You may actually have, you know, one side of your back that is shaped a certain way than the other. You may actually have, you know, certain things that are asymmetrical within your body. And so when a gown or something is fitted to your body, it is not going to be 100% symmetrical. And I think that's where people get maybe caught up, is that they're like, oh my gosh, why am I taking in more on this side than on this side? It's because your body isn't 100% perfect, and that's what makes you you. So there's that. Okay, when selling items, how do you get past the need for perfection? I don't. I don't get past it. I am a serial perfectionist when it comes to selling items. My rule of thumb is that if it's something I would notice, then I can't sell it. If you wouldn't want to receive the product the way you have it, right? Then your product is not finished. It's not complete. You've got to go back to the drawing board. So that's my rule of thumb. It's a very high bar for myself, but I wish I had another answer, but I really strive for perfection when it comes to selling items. I really, really do. What are your best sellers at your craft shows? So I would say that anything that, and I can't tell you what to sell, right? But if you have something that you can put in a bundle or something that everyone needs, like for example, my headbands. My headbands move quicker than probably anything else in my booth. And it's because they are, I think I charge like, no, it's not $5. It's $7 each or 5 for $25. And so most people do the girl math in their head and they're like, oh, I can get 5 for $25, and it already ups the sale. So I always make a little bit more of the headbands. But you really have to watch consumer patterns. I'll say it like that. You know, like my first fair, my first market that I did last year was my first one in like years. And it was very hard to gauge if what I sold years ago was still going to resonate with people pre-pandemic and just pre everyone's life changing and whatnot. And just actually living in a totally different area. And it was different, you know, like I would say that I don't think what was it? I would say like 4 years ago, my key fobs probably would have outperformed my headbands. And now my headbands are outperforming my key fobs. So you really, really have to make a little bit of everything. Like don't get hyper focused on one thing, but make a little bit of everything that you want to make, and see what sells. And if it sells in one craft show, it'll likely sell in the other ones. And so I would say follow that trend, and just go that way. But it is going to be trial and error, and you actually have to really go to a craft show, set up your booth, and truly do the market research that way versus just kind of winging it and just see what sells. And you know, you're going to have losses, you're going to have gains, but at the end of the day, the product that you don't sell, I guarantee you down the line, someone's going to buy it, because I actually had inventory from 4 years ago, and I literally just like put it in a basket at one of my craft fairs, and I didn't anticipate that it would sell. And I think it was like the last craft fair of the season. People were buying the stuff that I had made 4 years ago, and they liked it. And so sometimes it's a little bit about who's there, a little bit about the neighborhood, the time of year. It's a little bit of everything. Will you participate in any fairs or shows in the future? The answer is yes. So right now at Davids Bridal, we are kind of in what they call bridal Christmas. It's supposed to really just, this trend or the amount of hours that I'm getting at work is really supposed to take me through, I believe, the summer. And I think it's definitely supposed to trickle off around the fall or winter. And so the plan for me is that around fall or winter, probably when I'll have less hours at Davids Bridal, I'll be able to refocus again on craft shows. So yes, I'll be back. How do you finish your seams without a serger? So you can do this a number of ways. You can actually do the zigzag stitch on your sewing machine, or you can use pinking shears, and let me show you guys what that looks like. So these are pinking shears. I don't know if you guys can tell, but they've got like a little bit of a zigzag. So when they cut the fabric, it cuts it zigzag, right? And it won't fray when you do it that way. So there are a number of ways to actually go around not using a serger. So, and the other thing is you can do bias tape finishes as well. And I've done that a number of times. It is extremely time consuming. And usually if you do one seam, you have to do them all because it'll just look wackadoodle inside your garment. So I would say you can do if you're brave enough to do the Hong Kong or bias tape finishes, Like maybe start with like a project that doesn't have that many seams to make sure that you actually like that process. Because I did it on like a wool cape and it's beautiful, but I was regretting it the entire time. And the other way that you can actually close up your seams without a serger is you can do French seams. So French seams, you literally would put your fabric wrong sides together, and you would do like a 1/4 inch stitch, and then you would flip the fabric right side out, so now it's right sides together, and you would do a 3/8 stitch, and it would literally enclose the seam allowance in that 3/8. So that's kind of like the cliff notes of it, but there's tons of videos out there as far as like how to do those finishes, but that is pretty much a few different ways to do it without a serger. When do you use a walking foot and what for? So, okay, I don't quilt. Well, I should say this. I am not a quilter, but I have made quilts. You can technically use a walking foot for quilts. You can, if you're a garment sewer, you can use them on knits. I have used them on knits, not on my Janome, because my Janome foot is actually pretty heavy. But when I had my brother machine, which I still have my brother, it's my backup machine, but when I was using it more frequently, I did use my walking foot for knits all the time, because the foot on that one was not, it didn't give as much pressure. So the walking foot is literally like literally putting pressure down, and it walks across the fabric so that the fabric doesn't shift, and you can see the little feet walking. It's kind of cute when you use it versus relying on those dog feeds in your machine. So that is in essence what a walking foot is. So this says, when do you plan to list your square pattern weights in your Etsy shop? First of all, this question, I love you. So for everyone who pretty much has had like an eagle eye on like my last few videos where you see me sewing and cutting, I have been using these square pattern weights, and I don't know why I haven't posted them on my Etsy shop. Actually, I can tell you why. I got pretty busy with a lot of orders, and a lot of those orders were really big. And so typically when I am in the middle of like a lot of orders, I don't like to list new things, because I know that it will create almost like a domino effect. And yes, I love the business, but in order to kind of pace my work for myself, I hold out. I think this is like the first week that I've had like a moment to kind of just breathe a little bit. So they are posted right now. Let me show you guys what they look like. So this is the first set. I call this my minimalist set because it's like white with like the clear in the corner. So this is a square. And then this one is a rectangle. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's got a little safety pin in it. It's a gold safety pin. And then in this set, it's a set of 4. You also get a little circle with a gold hanger, which is really cute. And then you get like this oval shaped one, which kind of reminds me of like a soap bar. I know that's crazy, but you can get these in a set. Like I said, I call this my minimalist set, and it's live in my shop right now. I'll be coming out with more designs for these because I know that you guys really like seeing them in my videos. So I'm definitely gonna have to exercise my creativity with these and make some more. So what advice would you give to someone that would like to start a sewing YouTube channel? So the advice I would give you is keep posting your videos. I know that it like hurts your soul, not this person specifically, but it is like soul crushing to put a lot of effort into a video and then it gets like 100 views or 30 views, or you just don't see the growth. And I'm here to tell you that I was one of those people that I was getting 100 views. I was getting 30 views. You can go back in my YouTube channel and look at my videos that literally have 300 views on them. And I actually leave them there as a reminder of where I came from, because to me, it humbles me. Like, to see that actual growth and to know that it is possible, right? So I want anyone who is aspiring to start a channel, start the channel, post the videos, and just keep posting, because that repetition is going to help you really get to where you want to go. What do you like most about working at Davids Bridal? To be honest with you, it is the moments that people like literally go from feeling okay in their dress to loving their dress. So for me, that's always like super exciting and super satisfying, especially if I'm the one that has fitted them and I made their dress, because it's not always that you fit the person and you actually alter their dress. It depends on, you know, who's working that day and what dress is next in the line and things like that. So for me personally, it's like when I can see it from start to finish and that person gives me like a great big old hug and they're, you know, they love how they look, they love how they feel. That is one of the best moments ever. And it's literally a highlight to just be able to give confidence to a customer. How do you go about lining something that doesn't have it in the pattern? So I'm assuming that this person probably means like a coat or something like that. And I would say mirror the outer pieces, but I believe like what you should do is like cut your seam allowances down by like 1/4 inch for each one. So like if you're trying to line a sleeve, your curve and then the sleeve hem and the sleeve side should all be like 1/4 inch less than your outer pieces. How do you keep motivated to start and finish a project? That's a good one. So it's a number of things. Sometimes I'll have a vision in my head and I'm like, I gotta get this out. I gotta get this out. Other times it'll be an event that I have to get to and I'm like, I gotta have this for this event. I can't be, you know, in the floor crying 4 a.m. the morning of this event and get it done. Like I refuse to like put myself through that mental stress. But also sometimes, like, what's a good example? When I went to New York Frocktails last year and my dress was like a see-through jumpsuit, I wouldn't say it was hard to get through, but it was a challenge for me because that jumpsuit had like, it had in the bodice, it had an overlay and it had an underlining and a lining, and my pants were see-through. And it's not something that, it's not a project that I do every day, not by a long shot, but I put on like disco music and I got into it, and it really helped me get through the project, and it made it fun too, and it really just helped me bring that vision to life. And when I was working on my honeymoon wardrobe, I came up with like a honeymoon playlist to help get me through that. So it was like all these songs about like paradise and just, you know, Bob Marley, and, you know, just songs about love and just, you know, being on the beach, palm trees, you know, all those different little things. And so I created this playlist to help get me through the projects, and it just helps. It works. It inspires me along with helping me get through the project. So what are you making for Atlanta Frocktails? I feel like I've talked about this like probably 3 or 4 times already, but I'll talk about it again. I don't care. Let me grab the fabric and the pattern. So this is the pattern. This is Simplicity 9536. And I'm not going to do the pockets because this is my fabric and it's like 3D fabric. So Atlanta Frocktails, the theme is I think like secret garden or garden party. Anyway, there's been a lot of florals floating around, so I'm just sticking with the floral theme here. And yeah, so this is what I plan to do. And I'm gonna get like a little petticoat or slip, crinoline slip for underneath to really make it poofy and whatnot, which by the way, I have to order that soon. So there's that. What season are you most excited to sew for? Winter, spring, summer, or fall? Oh, I love spring and summer. Not only do the patterns come together faster, but I find that I have more places to wear them, because winter and fall, like, well, in fall, my husband is, you know, covering football a lot. So our schedules are pretty hectic. His schedule is pretty hectic. So I don't get to wear those items out as much unless like we're actually going on vacation or something like that. Winter, while I love making outerwear, it just takes longer to make. But spring and summer, there's always a cookout. There's always like a street fair or just somewhere to go. My birthday's in the summer. His birthday's in the summer. I'm gonna be wearing some cute things this summer for sure. Okay, how do you get it all done? Do you have routines for certain days? So that is really sweet. Because sometimes I feel like I don't get it all done. But I do have routines for certain days. Like on the days that I go to Davids Bridal, I typically go to Davids Bridal around 11 a.m. Like that's the start of my shift. It is incredibly hard to sew after being there for a full day of sewing. And so if I'm working on a project, I have to work on that project before I go to Davids Bridal because I won't sew it in the evening time. So typically what I do is on those days I will sew before I go in. I also plan out like the Simplicity Instagram content the morning before I go in as well. And then on my days off, I really pack out those days with getting content for YouTube and like completing projects and whatnot, and really also just taking time for me as well, because even though I have a day off at Davids Bridal, it's typically not a day off with the pattern weight business or making content or making clothes or things like that. So I pack out the day, but I find ways to take breaks throughout the day. This is a good one. Can you share what you did to rectify a screw up? Can it be rectified? Also, what were your best wins? What made it a win? So this dress behind me, I'm trying to work out if it can be rectified right now, which is another reason why I'm laughing. What were your wins? What made it a win? So I'll tell you guys this. So I was working on this mother of the groom dress. The lady was super sweet. And I had hemmed it to the floor, and she wanted her dress really tight. So not only did I fit it to her body, and she had ruching, and it was like a jersey knit dress, so it was going to be really tight, but also I pinned the hem to the floor, which is usually standard because it's a floor length dress. What I didn't anticipate was that, and I should have, when she tried the dress on in her second fitting / pickup day, because the dress was more fitted, the hem was actually higher. But let me tell you why this is a win. The poor lady broke her foot, and so she couldn't wear heels anymore to her son's wedding, and she had to wear flats. So she was like so excited that the hem was like a little bit shorter. And even though it was my screw up, like she was like, oh my gosh, she was like, it's perfect. She's like, and I can wear flats. She's like, thank you so much. This is nothing but God. I was like, yeah, nothing but God, girl. It literally happened like 2 days ago, by the way. Yep. All right. Ooh, this is a really good one. I'm struggling to set my prices, so I end up not charging much at all. Any advice on how to do that? So I'm going to give the cliff notes on this, and you guys let me know if you think I should do an extended video on this. I feel like it's a topic that a lot of people really ask me about. So one thing that has been like a bombshell moment for me working at Davids Bridal is what Davids Bridal actually charges for alterations. I didn't know what to expect when I first started working there, but when I tell you that I love their pricing, like the way they list everything out and their setup, I love it because it's respectful to the sewer. And yes, I get paid by the hour, not by the piece, but you best believe I'm taking notes on how to price things if and when I decide to set up my own alterations shop on the side. So one thing I will tell you is that they have a separate price sheet for dresses and bridal. So that's number one. Second thing is that they have rush fees. So when we are working on a gown, we give ourselves a 4-week turnaround. Regardless of however long that dress takes to make, we have 4 weeks to get it done. The standard is 4 weeks. That's it. So for example, today is what, April 21st? So anyone who's getting their dresses like altered literally are picking it up around the 16th or 17th of May. If an event is on, say, May 3rd, that would pretty much be a 1-week turnaround time, which would then really cause a rush fee on top of that. And customers hate rush fees, but it is justified, and they know it's justified. So the rush fee for dresses and the rush fee for bridal are two different rush fees. The rush fee for bridal usually goes up to about $80 for the week of. And I believe for like a dress, it's around $30 for the week of. The other thing is that for each step that we do, so say we take in the sides, taking in the sides is one price. Reshaping the armhole once you take in the sides is another price. A lot of times with bridal, doing this one step of taking in the sides can actually cost a bride around $200. The other thing that'll really help you guys out is that with the bridal dresses, we pretty much charge the hems by the layer. So if a dress typically has like 3 or 4 layers, it's gonna run the bride around $300. If it's a layer that has horse hem in it, that's more. The other thing I will tell you is that within those itemized steps, so take for instance, taking in the sides, there is what is it called? Easy, intermediate, difficult, or couture pricing. So let's say you're taking in the sides of a jersey dress. You might charge easy, but say you're taking in the side of a dress that's got beading and lace and boning and outer lining and a lining, and it's bridal. That's going to be couture pricing because of the amount of work that takes to take in or let out that side. So while I'm not able to necessarily share like specific pricing, I really hope that helps you guys out because it really helped me really see what it would take to run an alterations business. How do you pick your size according to finished garment measurements? Do you size down for knits? Would you ever use a knit fabric for a woven? Okay, so let me answer the 2 questions that are easiest first. So for knits, I always take my measurements, and I'll subtract 3 inches from those measurements. So let's see, I have this pattern in front of me. So I know that when I measure myself, right, that I'm going to measure my bust between 42 and 44 inches. But if I go down to where that would fall under the finished garment measurements, that's way too much ease. So because this is a knit, and I actually just looked at this and I was like, because this is a knit, I would likely cut out the extra small or the small because that's more in line with my size measurements, my personal size measurements. Let's see, for a woven pattern, this is the pattern I'm looking at, by the way. So for my bust, I would likely do the 42-inch one, which is a size 20, which gives me design and wearing ease of 43 inches, which is really right in line with what I need. And so that's literally how I would go about that. And then I may tweak it, pull it in here and there just to make it a little bit more fitted for me. But that 43.5 technically fits my bust. It may be a little loose in the waist part, and that's where you would do those alterations to really take in your own dress. How do you place and sew on perfect shirt front pockets? Okay, so I would say, definitely make sure that you have your dots marked on your front shirt piece. But also when you make a pocket, I always do like a stitch line along the edges of the pocket to help me press it under, so that way like the seam is like literally flawless, right? And then once you do that press under, you place it onto the shirt front according to the dots. And I would just turn your speed down on your machine and go as slow as you can and do an edge stitch. So if you have a speed control on your machine, sometimes that helps me a lot, especially with top stitching and edge stitching, because my speed is usually on like the fastest one, but then when I really want to like fine tune those details, I slow down my sewing machine. What inspired you to start your sewing journey? That's a really sweet question. So okay, I think most of you guys know, like, I learned how to sew in high school, and it was a hobby that I would pick up and put down throughout the years. But I think it was like 2016 or 17. I was working a really stressful corporate job, and I just wanted like an outlet. And I decided I wanted to have my own Etsy shop where I made bags. And I literally thought that my skills were only good enough to make bags. And then I started my Instagram page under the advice of like, hey, if you want to grow your business, you got to get on social media. And I didn't want to, but I wanted to grow my business. So when I got on social media, I found all of these people that sew their own clothes. And I was like, forget these bags. I think I can do what they're doing. And that's pretty much what inspired me. And I've been going ever since. And I love it here. What is your dream vacation outside of the US? Oh, I have so many. Oh, it's so many. I think for me, like, I love French style and I love great food. So I think going to France and or Italy in the same trip would probably be like amazing. But I feel like if I had like an endless amount of time, I would want to hit like England, Amsterdam, Berlin, Italy, and France, like all in one step. Ooh, and maybe Greece too. Like all of that, if I had like 30 days to just hang out, right? That's what I would want to do. So one place that's on my bucket list for the US is, I think it's called Antelope Canyon. And the pictures are like breathtaking. And I would really, really, really love to go there. But from what I hear, like, you have to be like prepared. There's like a starter pack for that thing. Like, you have to be like an avid hiker. You gotta have like certain type of shoes and stuff like that. That's not for the faint of heart. And so I think I would need like an expert Antelope Canyon person with me in order to like take that trip. All right, so I told you guys that there would be a special guest at the end. So this is Joe, my husband.
How y'all doing out there?
So Joe had some questions that were like thrown at him. Like, okay, y'all, I see y'all. But a couple of you guys actually wanted to know how me and Joe met. Hey, Blue.
A cameo from Blue.
So, picture it. 2016, Columbia, South Carolina.
All right, so this is how the story goes. I've told this plenty of times. So what happened was I was working at my former station in Columbia, and I got an email from Raven inviting me to this ABA basketball game. She was helping out a friend of hers with marketing and promotion for this league he was starting up. She was like, hey, come, to the game and stuff. So I said, okay. So I go out there and, I have my stuff on and I'm looking around and I see this beautiful young woman sitting at the desk. And I was like, okay, this is probably Raven. So I went up to the desk and I was like, hey, are you Raven or is this where the game is? And then as I recall, she was like looking down and she was just like, like astonished and just overwhelmed by my presence. And that does happen. I'm used to it. You know, I'm on TV, very good looking young man, if I say so myself. So, you know, it's kind of effect that I had, especially back then I was a little bit younger. Now, you know, she took all the shine. So, you know what I mean? So now, you know, and she was just trying to get herself together. She's like, I remember she was like, "Oh my gosh, you came!" Like she was like, "You're here!" Oh my gosh, like I can't believe. She says that I can't believe my email worked.
Yeah, no, I did say that. I can't believe my email worked.
Yeah, she even think I was gonna come through surprise. She was just like, "Oh my gosh!" And then, you know, she was flustered, but she got herself together and then she showed me where everything was. And ever since that encounter, I was like, man, who is this Raven Pratt? Like, I gotta know who she is. And, you know, if you're interested in somebody, I can't say back in those days, just a few years ago, but you went on Facebook, right, to see like who a person is, if you have any connections or anything like that. So I saw that she went to Hampton, and then we had a whole bunch of mutual friends from my first job in television at a local station back home in Virginia.
That was my first job in television too.
Right. So it was wild to see that we had a lot of similar connections. We both went to HBCUs. She actually went to my rival school. I went to Norfolk State. She went to Hampton. So once I saw the information, I instantly felt a connection to her. And, you know, I had been living away from home for a while. So having a fellow person that knew about the 757 and knew about HBCUs, even in that area, was a big plus to me. So I instantly felt connected to her, and I think I messaged you or emailed you or something. And
yeah, I mean,
as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like part of my story, and you always kind of say it too. You're like every timeline, because there could have been so many times that we could have met, and we didn't meet until it was time.
Yeah, because I think I was a year ahead of you in college or something like that. Like, I can't remember if 1 year I was on campus that you were at Hampton, right?
I think no, because you're 2 years older than me, so.
Well, not a whole 2 years, but.
Okay, I got you.
Maybe a semester, either way.
Right. So I mean, I feel like there could have definitely been an opportunity for you and I to meet. Between being so close in proximity, like as far as school, but then also the other thing is too, when I was working at the local TV station, I replaced him.
Right. Yeah.
So I didn't actually meet him, but I heard about him through my coworkers.
Right.
So they were like, "You can't sleep in your car. Don't be like Joe Cook." And I was like, "Yo, who is this Joe Cook person?"
Yeah, back then that was my first job in TV. It was a struggle. I had to work the morning shift, and
I worked the morning shift too. It was brutal.
Yeah, it was bad, and I was doing a lot of other things, freelancing. So it wasn't like it was my only gig. So you know, sleep was it was hard to come by. But I enjoyed my time there. I was there for like about a year and a half, a little over a year.
Yeah, I stayed for about a year. But no, being a PA is like, first of all, you're at the bottom of the totem pole, but also like the shift is like 3:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. So you need sleep. I mean, there were times where, like, I won't put this person's name out there, but there were times that I was like picking people up from the club to go to work.
Depending on which day you had, like if you work Friday, not work Friday, but if you work Saturday morning. Yeah. But people used to do that. But so when I left, she came right behind me. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was just so neat that, you know, we were passing ships, and then we met in South Carolina finally, you know, out of all places in our journey. So I think it was just very interesting to see how that all came about. So I do like our I do like our origin story, as they say.
Our love story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the other question is, and this isn't specific, so I don't know if they meant like your favorite garment that I've made for you, or like your favorite garment of mine. So it says, what's Joe's favorite garment?
It was a shirt, a t-shirt and shorts, but I picked out, you know, the fabric and everything.
Oh yeah, that's you wore that in the Bahamas, I think. Yeah. So
that's probably one of the ones. Something else that you made for me. Oh, of course, the number one thing probably goes without saying. I had to think of something else, but the number one thing you probably have known through the saga that was documented through her Instagram stories is the journey of my gray sweatsuit from my basketball days at Tidewater Community College. Now, of course, a lot of people are like, hey, man, it is time for that thing to go. And I understand, but it has a lot of sentimental value to me, so I want to keep it as long as I have. I know some of the best athletic years of my life.
So, yeah.
So, just a memento. Plus, I still play ball today when I can, pick up and everything to try to, stay in shape. I want to play the game as long as I can, so that hoodie has a lot of good memories. So the fact that she was able to salvage pieces of it was very endearing to me. So that is, of course, the best thing she's ever made for me.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because there were people that post on both channels, on Instagram and on YouTube, is extremely polarizing. Like, there were people that were like, how could you do that to the hoodie? Like, how, like, if I gave this back to my husband, he'd be so pissed off. Like, people were like,
really?
Yeah, it was polarizing.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their opinion, but at the end of the day, I liked it. And of course, it wasn't like it was a big surprise. She kind of told me what she was going to do. Because, the condition of the original, it's like, yeah, you probably should throw that away, because I think blue got to it, something happened, but like the hoodie was like detached. It was crazy. And I'm thinking, I'm like, hey, just, reattach the hoodie. Like, you can do it. She's like, that's not how it works. I'm like, man, you can do anything. I'm pumping her up like, she's Superwoman. Like, you can do anything. You can save it. And she's just like, nah, bro. Like, that's not how someone works. I'm like, but you could do it.
No, I had to
breakthrough.
No, but remember, I called you. I was like, so listen. I was like, I have to cut the hoodie. And you got quiet on the phone. And you were like, I was like, I have to.
Because I didn't know what she meant by cut, but she was like, yo, I can't save the hood, bro. Like, you just gotta get a new hoodie, man. She was like, it ain't happening. I was like, okay. My thing was like, she did some surgery, she tried, and like, we got to do a body transplant for this patient. You know what I mean? We'll take some skin grafting, we'll just put it up there. It's just like new. And I'm like, great. It's like, you know what I mean? It's still there.
But, yeah, I figured, wait, so you don't like the Hoochie Daddy set?
It's not that I didn't like it. Those are just my two favorites. No, Hoochie Daddy, that's definitely for special occasions and stuff like that. So it's not like wear it every day. But, trips, vations, things of that nature. That's what I would save it for. All the other stuff we made is kind of like everyday attire, stuff I can wear to almost anything.
Yeah, and then a few of the things that you liked that I made for me, you liked, and I know you don't know the names, but I'm going to tell the names to everyone. So there's the Jessica dress. It's a black dress with the big deep pockets, and I'm not surprised, but I like that dress, but I wish it was more fitted. So maybe with my alteration skills, I'll alter it this summer and wear it out, because it's been a couple of years since I've worn it. But that one, and then you said you liked, I wore this to the Queen Steps in the Bahamas. It was the red Marley bathing suit, and then the skirt is self-drafted, so it's got like this split. And I made the skirt with no intent to make it as a cover-up, but it was a cover-up for that day, and I just kind of put it at the bottom of the bathing suit. But that was like a day we went to the beach, and then we went to the Queen Steps, which, if you don't know about the Queen Steps in the Bahamas, it's a totally free excursion. You just got to get there by a taxi. And it's one of these places where it was hand built by slaves. And these steps are steep, and literally it was built, I think, like behind the battery. So something like that. They basically built a fort into these rocks, and so the steps were so that the soldiers could get down there and hide. But I think the fascinating thing for us was that it was hand built by slaves.
Yeah, like it was amazing. amazing thing to see.
Yeah.
And a great experience for sure. So if you got a chance to check it out.
Yeah,
definitely should.
It's in Nassau, Bahamas. So yeah. And then the other thing was, you like the Black Girl Magic jacket?
Yes. With the Martin font.
Yes, the Martin font. I got that patch off Etsy, and I haven't been able to find it since. Like, people ask me every once in a while where I got it, and I'm like, the link is dead. I don't know.
Oh no.
Yeah. And then what was the other thing? Oh, he's got his phone out, y'all.
Yeah, I had to get the phone. Sorry.
So, the leopard jacket. No, it's a leopard coat, actually. I love that too. Aww.
Yeah, I remember the shoot that day. That's when I used to take photos for her. She's relieved me of those duties nowadays. Well, I used to take a lot of her photos.
He
back
did.
In the day,
He did.
Now she got it, man. She got it.
What did you call this one the other day?
Oh, this is her Cree summer look. This is that going to maybe a farmer's market, like in a bookstore on a Saturday type of deal. A brunch, something like that.
Yeah.
Probably buying some incense somewhere, Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got them all.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are mine. Of course, she has a variety of different looks. I think that's one of the things that attracted me to her too, was she could pull off like any look. Like, her hair could be any kind of way, straight, curly, short, long. She could pull off like almost anything. I was like, man, she had a great sense of style. That was one of the things that stood out to me when I met her. I was like, man, like she was always like dressed up to me. So I always felt like I was like dressed down. Every time I was like, hey, she wearing that? Like, we was going to Waffle House. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I gotta step my game up.
Typical millennial business casual.
You should see the stuff she has in her closet. She's got a lot more stuff in there too. You need to do a video on that. Like, hey, here's a closet tour. But no, she's great. Thank y'all for watching and supporting my wife, and just showing her a lot of love. And this is a kind of labor of love for her. This is her passion, and I'm glad to be supporting it in any way, shape that I can, and have been, and am doing, and will continue to do so. But no, I really appreciate y'all for everything, and you go, girl, as they say.
Oh.
Yes.
All right, you guys. We'll see you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.